Hi there, today I'm going to share with you some ideas on how to improve your elevator pitch or elevator speech. So, in case you're wondering what an elevator speech or an elevator pitch is, it's that one of those opportune moments where you get to tell somebody in a concise and short way what it is that you do. Now, imagine a scenario when you're in a lift and next person to get in is Elon Musk. And as you do, you think, wow, it's Elon Musk. And he turns around and says, what do you do? And it's at that point where you've got 30 or 60 seconds to tell Elon Musk what it is that you do. And that's why it's called an elevator pitch, because typically it's a limited amount of time that you have and you've got to get across some good points. Now, many people, and possibly you yourself, will have been to networking events where you're asked to stand up for 60 seconds or 30 seconds and tell everybody in the room what it is you do. And if you've been going to some of these for a while, you've probably noticed that some folks, quite frankly, well, let's just say, haven't quite got a method for engaging an audience. The number of times I've been to an event where somebody stands up and hate to say it, but it's typically accountants, saying, I'm an accountant from such and such a company, and we do accounts, and we do payroll, and we do end-of-year returns, and, well, we can do a bit of planning as well, and it just lists off a series of the things that they can do. And I hate to say it, but me and a whole load of other seasoned networkers in the room are just going to switch off, if that's you. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories in a little bit about how to improve this, about real-life examples of people who've really made an impact to the point where I've remembered their elevator speech. But let's just cover some bits and pieces that you can do quite quickly to make your elevator speech or elevator pitch so much more effective. Now, one of the first things that you could quite readily do is just effectively tell me what's good about you. Why should I listen to you? If I'm in the business, if I'm in the market for, say, an accountant or another web designer or a health and safety specialist or whatever, what is it that's good about you? What do your customers say about you? Can you bring that to the room? Can you bring that to your speech? If your fans absolutely rave about you, then why not say it? It's so much more interesting and, pricks up my ears over saying, well, do this, 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 and this. Because if you're just reading off a list of things that you do, most people in the room or most people in an audience will just go, so? You're no different to the guy over there. So work out what it is that's interesting and what is it that's good about you, and to the point where I might actually consider having a chat with you about us doing some business together. Another good thing to remember is to, I don't know if you remember that film where the guy shouts, show me the money! Can you come up with some stories about it, the results that your customers have had from doing business with you or from buying from you? If you provide a service, do you have some evidence that your service really, really serves people over and above what you think they're paying for it? Give some stories, give some third-party credibility. It comes back to the first part. What do your customers say about you? What is it that's interesting about you? Do you get fantastic results for your customers that you can really, really rave about? And the last one is thinking about what is in it for me. Were I to consider becoming your customer, what would I get out of doing business with you? All marketing revolves around the what's in it for me. It's not just about what you do. It's not just about where you work or the company that you work for. Everybody buys something. Doesn't matter whether that's shoes or a high-end consultancy service, until they can see something. Everybody buys something because they can see something in it for them. So you've got to, in your elevator speech, get something across that's in it for them. And if I was talking to Elon Musk, I'd think, well, gosh, what can I do that's in it for him? But what I would do is talk to him about the smashing self-employment community and simply say how it helps self-employed people do better in their working life, help them to get more done, more customers, cut stress, and really enjoy their self-employed career. So that, to me, is very dynamic, and hopefully he would get that across as well. So always come back to what's in it for me. At the very least, if you just talk about what's in it for me, if I were to become a customer, that would make you so much more interesting than many other people in the room. And finally, the last one is to tell stories. And I've got two stories from real businesses who stood up and did their elevator pitch, and it made such an impact. It literally held the room. And it was One of them is an accountant, believe it or not. Don't get me wrong, I love accountants, but yeah, okay, we'll move on. So the first one is a guy called Sachin. A number of years ago, nearly 20 years ago, Sachin started a catering business. And in one of the first ever networking events he'd been to, he stood up and first words out of his mouth were, "I give oral pleasure." Now at this point, you honestly could have heard a pin drop, because everybody's imagination was running riot. But then he went on to explain that he ran a catering company and that the food that he created gets such fantastic feedback from his clients. They absolutely love it, to the point that they tell their friends, they tell their families, they tell their colleagues about this fantastic food that Sachin and his team creates whenever he caters for an event. But the opening gambit was, it's all right, it's an innuendo, but he literally, "I give oral pleasure," and then he waited. And it was brilliant. It was such a great opening line. Now, I'm not suggesting that you try and work out an innuendo or a double entendre in your elevator speech, but in this particular case, it worked, and it made an impact. And he went on to explain, and it was really, really good. And nigh on 20 years later, I remember Sachin's speech simply because it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Another great example, now this was from well over 10 years ago, there's a guy who runs an accountancy firm in the city centre near me, and he stood up and said, "I'm an accountant, and I want to tell you about a new client of mine who now saves more money in tax than we're charging her in fees." I thought, wow, talk about case study, that's blinking brilliant. If I was considering a new accountant at that point, I would have gone and spoken to him, thinking, well, if we can do that for her, let's have some of that for me, especially if it's going to cost me less money because I'm saving more tax than I'm paying in fees. So there's a couple of quick examples of fantastic elevator pitches or elevator speeches that hopefully you can adjust your elevator speech to really, really start to make an impact, to get more results, and literally to make it more successful when you go to events. Now, I hope one day that you will get to stand next to Elon Musk in an elevator and give him your elevator pitch. I know the chances are slim, but I really hope, because if you've worked it out and you've done it well, Elon might actually be impressed. Maybe he want to invest in what you're doing. But the point is this: show me the money. Tell me what's good about you. Can you give me some case studies that shows the great work that you do and the results client get? But more importantly, from your elevator pitch, what's in it for me? Tell me the reasons why and what I will get out of doing business with you. Were I in the market for what you're offering and considering you? Why should I consider you to try and help me? And that's the crux of it. Ultimately, everybody buys something because they see something in it for them. And when you go to a networking event, there's nothing different about that. So focus on what's in it for me. Well, I hope that's been useful. Remember to like, share, comment if you've got questions below. It'd be good to hear from you. We always respond to comments, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's a little icon in the corner down there. It'd be good to have you on board. But that's it. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.